Hey guys, welcome to Ever New with Kris M. Smith, Hannah McCrane, and guests, which is about living out loud, forging lasting connections, and visiting with effervescent thinkers and dreamers. It's an uplifting hour or more that promises to leave everyone feeling better. So who's up for some fun? Let's get this party started. Hi, Hannah.
Hey, Kris.
We've already been hanging out for about a half hour and catching up on each other's lives. I know what your joyride is for today. For this week. Hannah's coming to my house. Hannah's coming to my house. A week from today, she will be almost here.
She arrives a week from right now, I'll be up in the air somewhere.
You'll be up in the air somewhere on her way here. So we are both so super excited.
I've started packing this morning, actually.
Did you? All right. Yeah. And my joyride is Mr. Solstice, as those of you who know already, is doing very well. He comes back home every single morning and night. I used to have to call him down from the tree, but now he's waiting for me in the morning like, hello, it's wintertime. I'm hungrier than I have been. I'm getting bigger. So he comes in and he spends, half hour, 45 minutes with me morning and night. And he's beginning to get really rowdy. He's like backing off the goats and backing off the cats and he will now climb on my legs. I do not pet him. I do go like this. I do not pet him because I do not want him to get tainted. But he'll get on my legs and he'll push on my arms. He'll do the patty paw things and act like a real rowdy cowboy. He's really got the raccoon, down in the front thing going. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but if you've ever seen it, it's hysterical. Where he says, I'm bad, and he backs up and then he rushes you and stuff like that. He's got that down pat. He can come down a tree like nobody's business, but half the time he doesn't. He takes his time and then he climbs up another tree if he's not hungry yet and shows me how well he climbs, and then he climbs back down. Anyhow, he's a delightful guy and he's doing well. And we got some comments coming in already. I let people know today that we're going to talk about Dee's Western career, because I always post this on DeForest Kelly's Westerns, and we really have never done this before. So I thought today we're going to dedicate most of it to Dee's Western career. Let's start with comments here. John in Atlanta. Hi, guys. Hi.
Hey, John.
Janet in UK. Hi, Kris and Hannah.
How you doing?
And yes, R.I.P. Louise Fletcher. Yes. She was really good. Yep. Okay. So today we are going to talk about Janet is Fine. Yay! Space Dancer.
Hey, Space Dancer.
Hello. That's our Austrian gal, right?
Yep. Yes.
One of them. People from all over the planet visiting us. I'm just loving it. Knock on wood. I'm fine, knock on wood. Finally, I'm back. Yes. All right. Well, today, as I just announced, we are going to talk about Dee's Western career. I know Hannah hasn't seen a lot of Dee's Western career, so when she comes here, I'm going to twist her arm and have her see at least 3 of the things that Dee would want her to see. And those 3 things are, in case you also have not watched Dee, those 3 things are Apache Uprising, the movie Apache Uprising, 2 Bonanza episodes. One of them is called The Honor of Cochise, and the other one is The Decision. There are others I could mention, but I'm sure he would want you to see at least those 3, and hopefully we will be able to do that. But I do want to talk a little bit about Dee's Western career. Shortly before his death, he won the Golden Boot Award, which honored his work in Westerns. Janet's asking if I have one of Dee's cowboy hats. No, I do not have one of Dee's cowboy hats. I have a hat that Dee wore. It was my cowboy hat, and he put it on for a picture one time, but that's the only one I have. I'm a doctor, not a cowboy. Wrong. He's a cowboy, not a doctor. Hi guys, nice to see you. And there's Helen. Hi, Helen in New Zealand.
Helen.
We just about everybody from just about every continent. I'm just totally thrilled. Anyhow, Dee told his friends his closest friends that he always felt more comfortable in Westerns than science fiction. A veteran of television and film Westerns, he portrayed two different participants in the legendary 1881 OK Corral gunfight between the Earps and the Clantons. In 1955, he portrayed Ike Clanton in an episode of the television series You Are There. And in 1957, he portrayed Morgan Earp in the film Gunfight at the OK Corral. And on Star Trek, as you remember, Inspector of the Gun, the USS Enterprise away team beams to a planet, and he again finds himself at the OK Corral, this time playing Tom McClowry. He said after that, I think next time I'll probably do it as musical. He originally wanted to be a doctor and a cowboy, and he ended up being both. He said he was shy by nature, and he didn't enjoy doing television interviews. I can tell that, but most people probably couldn't. By the time Star Trek debuted in 1966, he had already been a professional actor for more than 20 years. He was extremely low-key, and he received his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which is located at 2071 Hollywood Boulevard, for those of you who want to find it in Hollywood. He received that star on December 18th, 1991, and I was in the audience. Personal quotes. He said, "I'm very grateful for the career I've had, and I'm very grateful for the experiences that Star Trek has afforded me along with my past background. When I look back and think how fortunate I've been to work with some wonderful people and had some marvelous experiences, then I can look at Star Trek and think it's almost like the cream on the coffee. I don't approach it as anything but a magnificent plus. I thoroughly enjoyed my years playing a cowboy. I liked Westerns for two reasons. First, Westerns took the actor outside. They were all very physical and at times not limited to a stage. Most of Star Trek was stage-based. Second, they paid my rent an awful lot." So I do want to point you, before I get a little more along the way, that's all the reading I'm going to do. Here's Dee's IMDb listing for those of you who want to find out. I can tell you, though, off the bat, he did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He did 10 motion pictures and almost too many Western episodes to count. The 10 motion pictures are Apache Uprising. That's the one I told you should absolutely see. Black Spurs, Gunfight at Comanche Creek, Gunfight at the OK Corral, The Law and Jake Wade, Raintree County, which really wasn't a Western. I don't know why they put that. It was, it took place in Georgia. He played a Southern officer in that. Tension at Table Rock, Town Tamer, which you have seen. No, you've seen Waco. You've seen Waco, Town Tamer, and Warlock. And in Warlock, he starts out as a bad guy and ends up as a good guy. That wasn't one of those character changes that come about. But these Western roles in TV, there are like too many to mention, but I will say he did 3 Bonanzas, 4 Death Valley Days, 2 Laramies, 2 The Lawmans, 3 The Lone Rangers, 2 Stagecoach Wests, 4 Trackdowns, 2 Two Faces Wests, 2 Virginians, 2 Wanted Dead or Alives, and 4 Zane Grey Theaters. And he did the You're the episode, Gunfight is OK Corral, as I mentioned before. I will, if you go to this IMDb page, you will see, you'll be able to see those again if you want to look them up. You can find an awful lot of those, or at least pieces of those, on YouTube if you look up DeForest Kelley Westerns. Here's a link if you want to find an article about some of the heavies he played. I'll just leave that up there for a second so you can write it down if you need to. Or you can look at this later and write it down. Another thing is I've done 3 or 4 interviews about Dee's Western career, and I've linked them all on my yellowballoonpublications.com page. So if you go there on the homepage and just scroll all the way down, past the books and everything, just keep scrolling down on the home page, you'll find the links. I did Voices of the West, and I did several ones on his Western career. So I don't want to leave you hanging. If you have any questions, those interviews will probably help you find out more than I'm going to be able to tell you. Before we go any further, I want to let you know, yeah, I look like I've kind of been beaten up on one side. That's because I had a dental implant put in on Monday, and everything goes haywire for a while there after that. It was painless. It was fine. It was not a big deal, except my face thought a big deal happened to it. It's just that I didn't feel much of it because I was I had Tylenol on board, and they had me very, very well numbed up. But my face looks like I've been hit by a Mack truck for a while. It was pretty funny. Anyhow, and Hannah just gave us, just before we went live here, Hannah gave me this wonderful link that it's called Jigsaw Planet. And if you go there and you type in this, there are jigsaws of Dee in many, many different roles, but 3 of them are Westerns. And I won't tell you which ones because I'm going to show you some pictures, and some of them are these jigsaws. But I'm not going to tell you which ones are actually jigsaws. You'll have to figure that out by putting the jigsaws together. Here is Dee in the Cowboys. Oh, I'll leave that up for a minute. He did the pilot to the Cowboys, but it wasn't picked up. And that was a follow-up from John Wayne's The Cowboys motion picture that Warner Brothers wanted to do, but it didn't get picked up. Here's Dee in another role as a bad guy. Here's Dee as a really bad guy. You can tell by that scowl on his face. Again, you have to divorce yourself from the fact that you have to remember Dr. McCoy had not been born at this time. And one of the reasons the studio was hesitant to have Dee as McCoy is because he had been such a bad guy in motion pictures and TV shows that they thought the audience could never relate to him as a good guy. As it turned out, he got typecast as a good guy, and they never put him back in a Western. Here he's a real smart ass. I mean, he just delights in kind of the kind of guy who would pull the wings off of flies and watch them buzz around, or, tie 2 cats' tails together and hang them over a clothesline. He just wanted people to suffer before he killed them. And this was, I think, from the episode Jailbreak. Here's Dee sitting on a post. He sent me that one time and said, Kris, this is the real McCoy. So I wrote an article about Dee's Western career. You can still get it if you do a back order copy in this issue of Cowboys and Indians magazine, and it was about 3-4 years ago. Here is the front page of that. And, well, it's 50th. It was during the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, I think, because it says 50 here. So whatever year that was. And here's
2016.
Oh my gosh, was it that long ago already? That makes me so sad. Anyhow, time is flying by. And here's the other one. And in this, I talked about a lot of the anecdotes of, him, what happened to him while he was filming cowboy stuff. He had falls and injuries and all kinds of stuff going on there that he got to talk about on stage later and laugh about, but they weren't terribly, terribly funny. I'm going to see if there's any direct questions about his career right now.
I told a friend of mine one of the stories from him getting hurt in a Western last night. He and I were playing Minecraft, and I don't know. I mean, he probably felt bad for the guy.
Yeah. I have seen the star in person, but didn't attend the ceremony, which I could have. Paying your rent is a big plus, yes. You can find a lot of his Westerns on YouTube. Yes, you can.
That's where I found Waco.
Yeah. A lot of painkillers. Yep. Yep. All right. John is aware of that Jigsaw site. All right.
I love the Jigsaw site.
Yeah.
I've been working on a Batman puzzle on there.
So handsome for a bad guy, though. All right. So here's what I will tell you about some of Dee's Western career. Some of the stuff that happened to him that he talked about on stage when he was filming Gunfight at OK Corral with Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas. there's a scene in that where Dee falls into an arroyo and hurts himself. Kirk Douglas is supposed to drag him through this arroyo out of gunfire.
That's the one I told my friend.
Yes. And well, the thing is, when Dee went down, he accidentally landed on the barrel of the gun he was carrying, and he ripped the cartilage or something off of his side. He went down, they were filming, so he just shut up. He just shut up about it. And Kirk Douglas grabs him and starts dragging him. And he's going, oh, and Kirk Douglas is dragging him, and finally the director says, cut. Kirk Douglas says, Dee, that was terrific acting. I really believed you were hurt. He goes, I am. So obviously they send him to the doctor. And this lady doctor looks at him and she goes, oh my God. She says, I'm going to wrap you up and I'm going to give you some pain medication and I want you to go to your hotel and don't do anything at all until you have to work again, because you need to really, really take care of that. Well, he went to his hotel room as ordered. And then he remembered, oh my gosh, the gang has been invited to this dinner, and it's just downstairs, and I feel pretty good. He felt pretty good because he was on pain medications, and he said, I'm going to go down. No big deal. I mean, I'm not going to do anything strenuous. I'm just going to go on down there and just join them for dinner. So he gets down there and he gets, behind the table and he starts to sweat, and he starts to feel really, really pretty god awful. And he's like, okay, I think this probably was a mistake. And he grabs his tab and he starts to head to pay. And by now, I guess he's pale and he's just looking just horrible. He walked up to pay the tab and the gal recognized that he was not well and said, are you all right? Or she says, yeah, are you all right? Can I help you? And he says, yeah, you can catch me. I think I'm about to faint. And he passed out. And he said, when I woke up, I was throwing up into this spittoon. And it was like, he said, I just know. The story from then on is, oh, these drunken actors, they just can't even hold their liquor, But it was like, I didn't even get a chance to have any liquor. I was out of it. He also did something called Frozen Escape, which wasn't a Western, but an attack dog is in that thing. And a dog actually, it's an acting dog, but it actually jumped up and bit him and damaged him. And he told the producer, I'm really hurt. I need to go to the doctor. And he says, go to the doctor. He says, well, will you pay for the damages? No, we won't pay for the damages. And he says, I was at work. I should be compensated for whatever. And he says,
yeah.
He says, if you don't, because you don't get paid for much for for an acting role that's a few minutes long. And he thought, well, yeah. So he said, well, I'm going to have to get an attorney then. And the guy said, if you do, you'll never work in Hollywood again. And this was early on in his career, and it scared him, and he didn't do it. But, it's pretty brutal. Dee also said, the minute you are off as an actor, the minute the studio is finished using you, you aren't even allowed back onto the lot. You're just persona non grata until they need you again. He said, if I wanted to go onto the Paramount lot, I had to call AC, or somebody asked him to give me a pass because they just didn't want you around. Kind of like just, and yet who is it that people go to the movies to see? They go to see good acting and good writing, but writers and actors, the minute they're no longer of immediate use, they're banned from the lot. I guess I can understand some of that if they're pains in the butt people and they're always in there trying to get people to, hire me. But Dee wasn't like that at all. He would have AC get him passed onto the lot, even if he wasn't in AC's movie, just so he could watch. And he said, AC said Dee knew everybody's lines. He was so well prepared. He never missed a beat. He was just a true professional actor. He was not grabby, gimme at all, ever. Okay, what else do I know about Dee's Western career? I
He
should have.
got kicked off a horse, didn't he?
He what? Yes. Oh, I wrote a really good limerick that he just loved. Now, Dee was a cowboy with flair. He rode side by side without care, till one day, while dismounting, he spurred the next mount and spent half of the scene in midair. Um, he was doing. He and his gang were supposed to ride into town and dismount side by side, at the tie rail. And Dee threw his leg out too wide off the horse and hit the horse next to him with either his boot or his spur if he was wearing spurs. And the horse kicked up, and of course Dee went right with him in a big arc and boom down on the. He said my head almost hit the tie rail. I mean, that's how much I spun and flipped and ended up on the thing. And the director, who was Eddie Dimitrick, always smoked this big cigar, looked over and he goes, Dee, are you okay? And Dee says, I'm fine. And he said, I'm sure glad I hired real cowboys. Oh, and the funny thing about real cowboys, Dee hadn't had much, if any, experience at all riding horses. But when he was first offered the job as a cowboy, they said, well, can you ride? And he said, yes, I can ride. That's what you say. And they said, okay, this was a Friday. Okay, well then, report Monday. And he's like, oh my gosh. So he called his best friend, one of his best friends, the lady he almost married, other than Carolyn, he couldn't decide for the longest time. Her name was Eileen Pickering, and she was a barnstormer and a aviatrix and barnstormer at about the same time Amelia Earhart was. She was a horsewoman. She was this incredible, Renaissance woman. And he said, Eileen, I have to learn how to ride a horse this weekend. And Eileen says, come on over, So they spent the weekend riding horses. And she said he was an absolute natural. She said by the time he showed up on Monday morning, you would have never known he wasn't born on a horse. He was just a natural. And he did most of his stunts. The one stunt he didn't do, Michael Landon did for him. And later on, when someone asked me, who's your stuntman? Dee said, Michael Landon. But that was the only time he ever had to stunt double. Everything else, any other time he was hung over a rail or beat up or something like that. He was the one in that scene doing those things. So acting is a tough job. If you're not popular anymore, you can disappear just like that. That's what's one of the things Dee said was Jan Madsen asked him one time how he would like to be remembered. And he said, well, my first thought is I hope people will remember. There's nothing deader than a dead actor. And I think, he was thinking John Wayne's remembered, Marilyn Monroe's remembered, James Dean is remembered. I don't think he had any idea that he would be remembered even this long, let alone the fact he will be remembered for millennia, I think. Because the nice thing about this generation is it is on film and it has been captured and will probably be the most researched and watched generations ever because so much of this stuff is on film. But he is one of the actors that has become an icon and that will always be in our memory, Star Trek fan or not. Apache Uprising, superb acting, my favorite of them all, such a badass. Hannah, we're going to watch that one for sure.
Sounds good.
This is Helen. And the thing about it is when he was in the hospital in the last months of his life, he kept saying, I just can't get over what an SOB Toby Jack Saunders was. And one of the things A.C. Lyles wanted him to do to characterize Toby Jack, he said, I wanted him to ride into town and have a barking dog at the horse's heel and have him pull out a gun and shoot it. And Dee said, absolutely not. Dee was an animal advocate. He said, absolutely not. I don't care how bad this guy is. I am not shooting a dog. I will establish his character some other way. And he certainly did. I had a dream about Toby Jack Saunders. I had already known Dee for quite some time. And I had a dream about Toby Jack Saunders coming into my house one time. And in the dream, I realized I haven't met Dee yet. So this Toby Jack Saunders may not know me. I mean, this is how my brain was going. And my sister was in the house with me in this dream. And she says, Kris, introduce me to Dee. Introduce me to Dee. And I'm like, he doesn't know me yet. And I'm not sure if this guy is that guy. You know, it was like, it was kind of the way when I actually met him in Wenatchee the first time, my first thought was, is he Toby Jack Saunders or is he Dr. McCoy? I mean, I was really hesitant to meet him. I didn't know what I was going to get necessarily. And when I found out what the light he was, you know, all of that went away. But it was still in my subconscious because later on I had this dream about Toby Jack and Jackie wanted me to introduce him. Like, no, I can't do that. I don't know this guy. He doesn't know me yet. I don't know him yet. So that was a really weird dream. But, you know, a subconscious thing about that guy was really scary, enough to give you a nightmare. You once said that Dee loved it when somebody remembered him for his cowboy days. He was delighted to know people knew him before his McCoy days. Absolutely. Let me show you some photos because I think this will show you not just as Kelly, I mean, not just as a cowboy, but you'll notice in all of these photos of him where I'm with him, he's always dressed like a cowboy. He's got a cowboy thing going on there. He's just got this cowboy thing going on there. These three were all taken pretty much at the same time, so he's in the same clothes. But I thought I put more pictures here, but I didn't. Okay. But just about every picture I have of him he's in cowboy clothes and in cowboy boots. Another thing I thought you guys might enjoy seeing is Dee's home. It has since been torn down and a McMansion went in there. But this was the outside of his home. I'm sorry, this is a little bit blurry here. Here was his dining room area. The kitchen is off to the right behind that panel there. This was his front room. Of course, this was all cleaned out in order to sell the house. It was really, really cozy in there. You've seen pictures of him in his house and how decorated it was. But this was his kitchen. And on the right-hand side of his kitchen, the part you can't see, there was a little alcove and his washer and dryer were in there. This is the patio. Inside those double French windows, there was their master bedroom. And they used to throw those windows open at night. They had a big backyard, a big enclosed backyard so that they could hear the birds and watch the squirrels and stuff. Here's a picture of me really, really close to that same location. It's right behind us where that is. This is Carolyn's bathroom. Very 40s. They just didn't change a whole lot. Here's another one of Dee and Carolyn and me not taken at the same time during the trip to Shambhala. And you can see again, he's in a cowboy shirt and his boots and his cowboy belt buckle. And yeah, he was a cowboy. He loved being a cowboy. And he was a good cowboy at times too. So, but he really loved chewing up the scenery. When the thing about my dad, it was like 20 years after I met Dee, more than that, 30 years before my mom and dad got to meet him. And they kept thinking I was just totally, starstruck and over the edge. And I kept saying, I would love this guy if he was our lawn attendant. He's just a salt of the earth kind of guy. And they just kind of didn't believe that at all. And so I was hoping one day they'd meet him, and they did. Eventually they did get together and they sat and talked. That's in the book. The story's in the book. But at one point, Dad said to Dee, I never would believe you're the same guy that was in those Westerns. He said, you just are so mild-mannered and just such a gentleman. He said, I don't know how you portrayed those guys. He says, I think you deserve an Oscar for those. And of course, that tickled Dee, and Carolyn said, absolutely he does, and my mother said, absolutely he does. And I said, absolutely he does.
Hear, hear.
When you've known DeForest Kelley, and then you see even McCoy has an edge to him that DeForest Kelley did not have. And sometimes when he would go to apply, to audition, like he tried to audition for Steve McQueen the first time, and Steve McQueen says, you're not the kind of guy. Dee walks in, this mild-mannered, sweet gentleman, and said, I'd like to apply for, I'd like to be auditioned for this heavy. You're not right for it. Well, he grabbed his shirt and pulled him over and said, I think I am. And Steve McQueen's like, whoa. There was another thing that he told me about. He had been an actor for some 20 years. And one of his best friends, and Carolyn's best friend, said, I've never seen you in a Western. And he said, why not? He said, because I could never believe you as a bad guy. Just plain could never believe it. I don't care how good you were. I would never believe it. And he don't ever tell an actor they can't do this. He turned into Toby Jack Saunders, and he grabbed her and scared her so bad she started to cry. And then he started to cry because he's like, honey, I didn't want to scare you. I just wanted to show you I could do it. I just wanted to show you I could do it. She goes, I believe you. So, yeah.
And then Carolyn's just off to the side, not knowing how to respond.
Really.
Yeah, you never want to tell an actor they can't do it.
Absolutely. And one time, one of his next door neighbors, and he was over next door to one of his neighbors, and they had a little bit of a tiff. I don't know what it was about. Dawn, his neighbor, didn't tell me. But Dawn said, we had a little bit of a tiff, and she went in one room, and I went into the other with Dee, and Dee looked at me and said, don't do that to your wife. Just like told him right there, don't do that. And he said, it really brought me out short because I had just done something really kind of, off the wall. And he just pulled me up straight. He was just very good about keeping things, as loving as he could. And that was the neat thing about it. If he did correct you or critique you in any way, you felt like it was a blessing, not like it was a criticism so much as I know you're better than that. You are so much better than that, So he was talk about a mentor, someone who made you feel constantly, if you made a misstep, it was not a character flaw. It was not a this, that, or the other thing. It was just, just think about that. How could you have done that differently or whatever? He was just really a wonderful mentor. Yeah, he did look great in his cowboy outfits, but then he looked great in pretty much everything. I have some of his clothes that after he passed away, Carolyn said, I can't bear the thought of going home. I cannot bear it and finding his clothes there. It'll be like he's there, but he's not there. It'll drive me crazy. So I want you to get rid of them. I don't care how, if you donate them, if you... Well, Dee also was aware of that. She must have told him because he told me at one point, go ahead and take anything you want and call John Stecco and Ray and his other friends and have them come over and take what they want. But get rid of that stuff because that we don't want Carolyn, And so his friends came and I took a few things that either I had given him or his sweater on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, the stuff he had, that I had seen him in pictures with, or that I was with, that I'd given him or whatever. And then they took whatever they felt they wanted. And then there was still the stuff left over and I couldn't bear to donate it because it was just like, it was just, I couldn't. It still smelled like their home and anything. So I just put them in a couple of barrels, covered them up and took them to my garage and just basically forgot about them. They were in my garage. Even when I moved up here, they went into the shed. But I recently opened them again and it still smells like their home or his cologne or whatever it is. It still smells like what I just have to like get the scent, and it like puts me back into that time again. And one thing I noticed is some of the t-shirts that he had they had holes all over them. And I'm thinking those were the ones he wore out into the garden when he was getting Carolyn roses. I mean, there were all these little holes in these things, and there were things I should have thrown out, but I didn't. And now they're really precious because I think these are some of his favorite shirts. Absolutely his favorite clothes. The ones that are rattiest are the ones he wore the most, And so now I'm like, oh my gosh, I have some stuff that what am I going to do with this? Because I can't bear to get rid of it, whatever. So I'm thinking about, finding ways for his dearest fans to maybe get some of it. But I'm just in the thinking stages of that. You guys will be the first to know, though, if I do something like that, because you have been, I know just about all of you who come on.
Did that happen with anyone else?
Huh?
You blanked out for a second.
Blanked out for a minute. I don't know what that was all about. It's really admirable that Dee lived a simple middle-class life instead of the rich, floofy, absolutely, that was the other thing, floofy lifestyle that other famous actors had. He didn't have any gates up in his community. There was a Catholic school not very far from where he lived, literally a half a block away. And during the Star Trek years, the little Catholic boys would come over and knock on his door and to talk to Dr. McCoy, and he'd open up the door and do it, Yeah. Steve McCrane was a really tough guy. So for him to act like that is really amazing. Yeah, he was just so surprised. He just couldn't believe that guy. I just can't throw away those clothes. You got that right. I couldn't do it then. I can't do it now. So I'm sitting here going, I'm going to do something. And it's going to be, I don't know if a museum will take him. I doubt it. I don't want to send him to Sotheby's because they will price him so out of the range that real fans can afford them. I'm going to do something. It's going to be something that the fans, I think, will be able to deal with. But nothing's set in stone right now. Anyhow, I'm not going to be here forever, and I want somebody to enjoy them, who will truly treasure them, who won't just turn them around and sell them for more, that kind of stuff. So I want to make it kind of close and intimate, and not a major announcement, because that way the Jeff Bezos of the world and everybody like that will, or the guy, the Microsoft guy, Alan.
Bill Gates.
No, not Bill Gates. Alan. He's a huge Star Trek fan. Anyhow, yeah, I don't want that. I want these regular fans to get stuff. Okay. Anyway, are there any questions about his Westerns? Any comments about his Westerns? What were your favorite Westerns?
I've only seen Waco, so right now I have to say Waco. I remember when I was in college, for one semester, I took an art class. And if I learned one thing from that class, is that I do not have the patience, to create like fine art and all that. But one of the assignments we had to do was we had to go home, put on a movie, and just draw what we saw for like 20 minutes. So I figured, you know what? I'm in a D mood, so might as well do, a Western or something. And I said, I think Waco's the one where he gets dangled upside down. And maybe I'm sick, but I kind of want to see that. So I put on Waco and I drew for 20 minutes, and I finished it.
Do you still have it?
Somewhere. It's like a big thing.
We want to see it.
Let me see. Hold on. I don't even know why I still have this thing. This was, pre-pandemic, but let me see here. So we always had to show our homework and everything on display for the class, and we had to say what the movie was and all that. And for some reason, after I said that was a Western, everyone in the class just started associating me as someone who loves Westerns.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Western is not my genre of choice, so I found that kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Let me see here.
While you're looking, Janet says Warlock and Apache Uprising, and another one that springs to mind is Death Valley Days, Lady of the Plains. Absolutely. That's another one. I have that, and I'll probably show that to Hannah if I can get her to watch more than 2 things. Lady of the Plains is very, very good. However, he wasn't the bad guy in that, and that's good.
It might not be in this book.
Okay. Keep looking. Helen says his influence for Toby Jack was someone he had met. Yeah, when he was a young man, he said there was a sheriff in the Georgia town in which he lived that literally looked like a snake. He said he looked like he was looking at you as if he couldn't wait for you to step out of line so he could kill you. He said that's what he was like. And he said, that's the guy I was trying to channel. And he did a really good job of that, especially in that jailbreak one. The jailbreak one, which was Track Down. Yeah, Track Down, the jailbreak, if you can see that one. He curled his lip and he just looked like, I cannot wait. Oh, spelling goes right out the window when I'm typing fast. Did it take a long time for Dee to learn how to shoot a gun? Dee had a knife and gunman named Rod Redwing, who was a Native American, and he said he was marvelous. He taught him how to shoot. He never said how long it took him to shoot, but he said Rod Redwing taught him the flyaway where he twirls the gun and it lands up in his holster. He taught him that, and he never said how long it took, so I can't speak to that at all. Such a gentleman in that. Yes, he was a super gentleman in Lady of the Plains. He was really, really good. So let's see. What else? Who else? Any more questions? Any more of your favorite?
I'm still trying to find it.
Okay, that's okay. Any more of your favorite Westerns? Those of you who are watching and listening, I'd like to hear some more. Two people are on my Facebook page.
I found it.
All right.
He wanted us to just draw over everything. So it's just like this completely chaotic scene. I don't know how much you can see.
Oh. Is he upside down?
At some point, yeah. I think this is supposed to be him too.
Okay.
Let's see if I can find him upside down. I know I draw that. Oh, yep. Oh, yeah. He did. We had to do it real quick since the stuff's moving, and apparently we weren't supposed to look at the paper.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So I was just.
There you go.
I know there's another Star Trek thing that I did. We had to set up. Oh, I found it. We had to set up. We had to make like a little scene, of like a few objects or something. And first we had to draw whatever it was without looking at the paper.
Oh,
so that's that. Then we had to look at the paper and we get that. Basically what that was, it's a Star Trek shirt that I have. A little thing that I made
unfortunately
years ago. This thing. Yeah.
Unfortunately, Dee wasn't in what her little girl's made of.
And that right there is, I have a copy of one of the scripts with, everyone's signature on it. And I didn't find out until after I had already purchased it that it was one of the episodes Dee wasn't in.
Right.
So,
all right.
I know it's hard to see. I'm sorry. Right there is a little figure that I have of Dee. And then that was supposed to be a little thing that I have. It's a still from the series of Dee and Bill. And it has a frame that my dad made. So I just have to go with that.
John, you said I loved him on Bonanza. Do you have a favorite of those? Please respond. Will Hannah still be with you for my next podcast? Absolutely, she will be with me.
I'll be
in
right
the
next to it.
same room. Yeah, that'll be the day she leaves, but she doesn't leave till late at night that night. So we will be doing our next podcast together.
Yep, we've hit the week mark, and I've been sending Kris little funny clips every day to celebrate.
No, I have Bonanza theme stuck in my head. So do I. I even know the words to the Bonanza theme song. Me too. Lauren Green singing it. Yep. All right. Oh, I'm going to go back over here because I think there's some banners I have not. There is oh, by the way, an update on the Celestis Dee's lock of hair. If you don't know about that, watch the last episode. Dee's lock of hair is going into space. I donated a lock of hair. There are a couple. You can go to celestis.com to find out more about that too. There are a couple of interviews I've done recently about that, donating the lock of hair. The most recent one is Bleeding Cool at this Earl. It's shortearl.at/small-mt capital Y 34. And then the News Tribune article, which actually has a little interview, like a 2-minute interview under the top photo, is www.thenewstribune.com/news.article 265510631.html. Those are both pretty good. And Rachel Carrington is going to do one for her column, Red Shirts Always Die, in the next little while that I just did with her too. For those of you who want to watch a wonderful tribute, the one that was shown after Dee passed away at his memorial service, you can find it here. It's https://www.youtube.com/watch?v small v equals, and then all caps, FCSP lowercase im capital D small x capital X capital D small w. You can see that there. That's a wonderful, wonderful tribute, and it does have some of his Western stuff in there. And again, the links to my Western interviews and any other interviews that I've attached are at this yellowballoonpublications.com down low. Just scroll down until you find them. He doesn't have John doesn't have a favorite. My two favorite of the three Bonanzas are, as I mentioned before, The Decision, where he plays a doctor wrongly accused of killing someone, and The Honor of Cochise, where he poisoned a bunch of Indians. They are among his best performances. And the one where he portrays the doctor falsely accused of killing someone, he said that was one of the few times in his career that they allowed him to experiment. And the interesting thing about that is when you first see him in that role, you think he's a real snake because he's really mean-spirited and kind of tacky to Ben Cartwright when he comes in asking for help for his son Hoss, who has been fallen on by a horse and broken his ribs. And he's like, well, you got to pay for it. And what do you want? And I want $10,000. And it's like, holy cow, I don't care. Come help him. And you think, wow, this guy is a real creep, And then you find out as the episode unfolds that he's actually going to the gallows to protect his wife, who had embezzled money to help him become a doctor, unbeknownst to him at the time, that she had embezzled some money to help him afford medical school. And when they moved out to this town, I guess it was Virginia City, the person who had covered this scandal back east had moved out, and he was going to expose her and make her go back for trial. And Dee got into a tussle with the editor of the paper because he didn't want it published, and they got into this tussle, and the editor pulled a gun, and Dee tried to deflect it, and it went off and it killed the guy. Well, as it turned out, the lawyer in town had a beef against Dee, and he used that to charge him with murder. Anyhow, I won't tell you the whole story, but when you find out that Dee's actually willing to go to the gallows to protect his wife and keep her from going back to this coal town where she would have died because of she had a lung condition, and if she had gone back there, she wouldn't have even survived to go to trial. She was so poorly off. You begin to go, oh, this guy isn't a creep. He's just willing to do everything in his power to protect his wife. So that change in character over the course of that 40 or 45 minutes is. And then, of course, then you're like, we don't want him to get strung up. I mean, he did what any good husband would do, and I won't tell you how it ends because you'll probably want to look it up if you haven't seen it. But it's a really, really good episode. And it shows a change in character or a change in trajectory of an actor's, how they evolve. So it's just plain a well-written episode, except that Ben Cartwright calls Dr. Jones Dr. Jones at one point. But I guess we all make those mistakes in life when we're under stress. Anyhow, what else? Any more comments? We got lots of eyes.
John has one. He says, well, maybe everyone can stop horsing around.
I wonder if I had to run over to Facebook and see if anybody's given me questions over there. Let me take a look there.
Does anyone have a favorite Western Dee has been in general? Not even like a movie, maybe an episode of a show?
One of the best ones was where he, but your mom says that house is adorable. I wouldn't have changed a thing. Absolutely. I have the blueprints to that house. I asked him if I could get them because that's the only house I ever walked into in my life that I felt immediately at home. I mean, it was like this place was built for me. It was just beautiful. And I asked if I could get blueprints of this house, and he had one. He had a set made for me, and I still have those. If I move to Costa Rica or wherever, and I just get a plot of land, I'm going to recreate that house because I think it's a tragedy that it was taken down. Your mom was on over there, and she didn't have any questions, just comments. So, all right. All right. What else? We're almost an hour into this. One of the best ones, I would think I started to answer that question. There's one, and I don't remember which episode it is, where he's an Indian agent, and he's horsing around with an Indian lady. And of course that ticks off the Indians. And at one point he gets whipped. They tie him to a railing, a corral railing, and whip him. Now the interesting thing about that was it was a really hot day. And the guy was, he was a trained, careful whipper, but because it was hot and because Dee was sweating, it was really connecting really, really bad. And it was hurting like heck. And he thought, oh my gosh, this feels real, and he was like, Well, when he got home, he had stripes. He had stripes through his shirt. He was really, really seriously hurt. But in that episode, you can see that actually taking place. But it's a really good episode too, because again, he's a scoundrel. But it's a good, he's a good actor, and you believe that what's going on is really what's going on. I can't remember the name of that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Was it Stagecoach West? I don't think so.
I don't know. Let me see if I can Google it.
I just can't remember what the name was.
Whip. Apache Trail.
Was it Apache Trail?
Yeah.
Okay. It might very well have been Apache Trail. And was that what? Track down or what?
I'm sorry?
What was the name of the TV show?
Black Saddle.
Black Saddle. Apache Trail. Okay, I believe it. I believe that's probably what it was. I thought it was North. I don't know. Okay.
You don't know what you think.
I don't know what I think. I've got all of these. I've got this whole list of his various Westerns, and I've got them all mixed up in my mind because I haven't seen them all that much recently. I have most of them, but I haven't seen them that recently, so they're not. Man of Violence is an excellent portrayal of a guy who, and by the way, Leonard Nimoy is in that too, briefly. That's another excellent portrayal of a man who thinks he is, who thinks he has, through negligence, killed someone. And then he goes out kind of hoping the Apaches will kill him. And then he has a change of heart, a turn of heart, and Trampas helps him. It's a really, really good character study.
I saw a screenshot from that episode where him and Leonard are sleeping.
Yeah.
Or Dee's just blackout drunk, I think it's supposed to be. Yeah. But someone edited it so that he has a nightcap on and a teddy bear in his arm. And I'm like, I love that so much.
This Man of Violence is kind of like a character study of someone who goes from self-hatred to self-acceptance, self-forgiveness, and understanding, and he turns out being actually the hero at the end. It's really, really an excellent show. And now we're off D. I do like the movie Tombstone with Kurt Russell. It's really funny because that Tombstone thing, I got to show you something. This picture right here that's on my book cover right there. Oh, shoot. Wait a minute. Let me come down here and get the bigger one. That one right there. That was taken on the outdoor set of Tombstone. And then I changed all those words. But that's me playing cowboy down on the bottom there. But that was actually one of the sets from Tombstone, which I never saw. But I was out there one day when all the cowboys and horses were out there, and I talked to the cowboys a little bit. Great acting of D's. Yeah. We're doing the typos again. Just banged my keyboard and some grit came out. Now it's unstuck. Oh, I don't know how that goes. I just finally went and got some of that air, that canned air, because it's amazing. All right. I think we're pretty close to wrapping this one up. Unless we have any other questions or comments about Dee's Western career. I can't think of any of the other anecdotes from his Western career. I know at one time in one of A.C. Lyle's films where he was a bad guy, they tied him to a wagon wheel and, stuck a bunch of arrows into his chest and called lunch, and they didn't untie him. So everybody ran off for lunch and he's still stuck to the wagon wheel. A.C. thought that was very funny.
I love that because that's the thing I would have suggested.
Yes.
I was there, like, whoever's supposed to untie D, I would be like, don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah. And Chill Wills and Rory Calhoun used to always do prankster things. And Rory Calhoun, for example, would walk up behind Dee with a warm cup of coffee and dip his fingers in the coffee and fling it on his neck, on the back of his neck while pretending to sneeze. Chill Wills, he walked by and pretend to, if Dee was sitting with his legs out, he'd pretend to trip over Dee's legs and spill coffee on him. And Dee had just about enough of that. He had really had enough of that. So he heard that Rory Calhoun was going to be on Art Linkletter's show that afternoon. And they were set up outside on location, and they had these big tents put up with heaters in them to keep them warm when they weren't acting. And one of the horse let loose and, did its potty thing. And Dee asked the cleanup man to get a shovel full of that horse manure and follow him. So he walked into Rory Calhoun's dressing room, in his little dressing, whatever that was. And he said, put that pile of horse manure right below, in the closet, right below Rory Calhoun's, horsehair, whatever jacket he was going to wear to the Art Linkletter show that day. And then he turned the fan on it to be sure it would be really nice and punchy. And then he asked the director, first he asked the director, am I getting off right away? He said, oh yeah, you're done for the day. So Dee did that and took off. And he said, when I walked back that morning, Rory was in a corral doing a fight scene, and he saw me, and he jumped over that corral, and he ran over to me, and he grabbed me and said, you little shit. I was doing, the Art Linkletter show that afternoon, and I arrived smelling like horse, And Dee said, well, maybe you won't play any more jokes on me. And he didn't.
I do know of one story during one of his westerns. Princess Sophia of Greece was going to. Does anyone know this?
Yes.
They were going to. She was going to come watch them film. I'm not sure which western it was.
Warlock.
What?
Warlock.
Oh, okay, Warlock. So he's there. He does his thing, but then he trips over a chair. And I'm not going to say what he said, but he swore.
Uh-huh.
And then he remembered that Princess Sophia was right there. And he was so embarrassed, he crawled out, of the set on his hands and knees. And he's just like, So the director comes out with a cigar and he's like, Dee, I bet you sat up all night trying to figure out what to say in front of the princess.
Yeah.
He said that was on a Friday. And when he came back on Monday, he got a standing ovation.
Mm-hmm.
And someone came to him and said, Dee, you're fine. I danced with the princess, and she doesn't even know what that word means.
Yeah, that was Henry Fonda. Yeah. All right. Heard that one. Okay. All righty. I guess we're done. Thank you. Please share this. If you know any other Western fans, especially if they're Star Trek fans, or the Forrest Kelly fans and they haven't seen his Westerns, I hope everybody will really go to the YouTube and watch the ones he would most want you to watch. And again, divorce yourself from the fact that he was ever Dr. McCoy. These portrayals happened before he was McCoy. And they are the main reason the studio executives were so scared to allow him to be Dr. McCoy, and why he wasn't in the first pilot as Dr. McCoy, because they said no one will ever believe him as a good guy. Well, he showed them, didn't he? And then he was typecast, and they didn't ever employ him again as a bad guy, which kind of upset him quite a lot. He did have 2 opportunities. He was invited to be a member of the cast in Lonesome Dove, but he was committed to Star Trek at the same time. And the Missouri Breaks, I believe, was the other one they wanted him for, and he was committed to Star Trek. So he didn't do any more Westerns. The only Western he did after was the one in which this picture appears, the pilot of the Cowboys. And the title of that episode was Dave Done It. I have never found it. I have looked for it. When I was at Warner Brothers, I asked them to look for it, and they never could find it. So I think it's been lost to history. But that's the only Western he did after Star Trek. And it's been lost. Thank you very much. Okay, well, one more comment. Let's see. Good, good. Thanks, Kris and Hannah. Thank you. Okay, thank you for the show. Guys, thank you for coming. Oh
Thank
my
you guys
gosh.
so much.
Enjoy your time with Kris, Hannah. Look out for squirrels bombarding you with pine cones at Northwest Track. I'll have to tell you about that one. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And what a shame about that lost Western. Absolutely. I'm just brokenhearted. Okay. Thank you all. Please share this. Share it far and wide. Ooh, yeah. And we will see you in 2 weeks. Hannah and I will both be here in the same room. That's going to be fun. Thanks and take care. Indeed, I wish I could. Yeah, Janet and I have been talking about the Cowboys forever and just never got a chance to see it yet.
Well, it makes it mysterious, and mysterious things are fun.
Yes. We can write our own. Let's write our own.
Let's do it.
All righty. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks, and we'll talk about whatever we talk about then. Oh, great show. Your sister says, great show today.
Oh, thank you, Abby.
You'll see her from quite a ways away in 2 weeks. It was on UK TV 1972 and never been since. Wow. I wonder if you could go to them and see if they have it. If they have it, that would be awesome. Okay. Gonna say bye-bye. See you in 2.
Bye, guys.
Take care. Be healthy. Stay well. Hug each other for me. And we'll talk to you again in 2. Bye-bye.